White Christian women have been the number one child pimps in America, and we're catching them all in these portions. And I'm trying to point it out of how they destroyed the women's movement. They were really mad when I was speaking out against them, and then they continue on their garbage. So uh, Katie Couric and this female from the Atlantic, Sarah Fitzpatrick, is wanting to spread around male supremacy and basically call everybody else a liar except for the people that government men think are credible. That is interesting. Obviously, this woman is speaking out her behind and never actually had to deal with government in a real serious way. She's like, I love this because it's her ego. But actually, if anybody has an ego, I could run on this forever about how I've been the only one out here for like 25 years, just going through every single story, including the Jeffrey story, which was out here sometime between 2011 and 14ish, something. It landed on my lap either from someone from Twitter or I found it from research. There was a website and I remember it. It took me a while. I was like, I know I seen this, but I do believe in the initial story, and it may have came up, my thinking on this right now, because it's so long ago. I covered probably thousands of stories, you guys. So I have so much information on my lap where these media people do not, because they didn't care. They wouldn't run the stories. They were blackballing us. They were putting information from Jeffrey's camp and other people's camp, not just Jeffrey, into the public, trashing women, okay? At the time that the story was coming out, they still had child marriages going at kids and justifying raping kids and all kinds of crap, okay? They want to come out here and make it seem like they had no idea and want to blame it all on Trump. I go, no, I don't care how terrible Trump is. You had to partake in order for that to even happen. But there's a lot of stuff that we know and a lot of stuff that we've been sharing every time I talk to government. I was always very transparent about our government and their operations, what they sent out to employees, a lot of stuff. So in the middle of it, I go, I call a government, reported this, and then all of a sudden, these targets are happening on me. And by our government, not by some random person out of the country, not by some organized crime guy on the street. This is our own government. And so I'm looking at it like I see it, obviously, because I'm the survivor in it. So I know, well, hell, our government doesn't take it seriously. And in fact, they target victims and they keep turning around doing this. But the language that they speak in government is the Christian church. I mean, completely. That women are prostitutes. All they want is they're greedy money. Blackmailers. The blackmailer one. That was lovely. So I ran across this blackmail bullshit that they sent out this notice to, it was through like DOJ or something. I think it was on All Their Legal, to their employees, to, I think it was DOJ and FBI. Anyway, these notices were going out, and the way they were explaining women to them is really interesting. Don't hook up with women because they can blackmail you, dudes. There's no there's no framing in this that, hey, if you guys are raping some women in other countries, you probably should get arrested. Like they're abusing their position of power in government, right? Well, it wasn't framed that way. They were saying that if these, like basically if women are going, hey, we're going to tell on you, they were calling it blackmail. Like they framed it in this way, and I read it and I go, I cannot believe government sending this garbage out. But this is what happens when a group of men get together and they're a bunch of egotistical a-holes and they start, communing together. And they start trashing a gender, right? We're the real victims. I could literally pull out 10 million times that government said that men are the victims. I was like, did they really say this? And they're inside a human trafficking ring. And you're out here promoting don't pay women, which is against the law. Wouldn't that turn into slave trafficking, right? Slave labor. And in addition, it was a human trafficking ring. So those are two things together there. And government was promoting it. Government. It wasn't an outside person. It wasn't any of this. It was government. And they, regardless of what was happening at that job, government should never promote some shit like that. But they did, and those are gang members inside our law enforcement. So I was like, yeah, we need to tackle this. I mean, we can't even report because they're promoting child human trafficking and slave labor and not paying women. So when you call government, they will treat you in the same fashion, okay? That is a major systemic failure. Okay, so what is a systemic failure? Let's read a definition of what a systemic failure is. And besides the fact that Katie and that Karen are racist as hell, because these are two white women sitting there in a room saying that if FBI ever hears anything, one little thing about a kid, they're going to be on it. I go, that is the biggest bald-faced lie I have ever heard from any person ever. But why is this not shocking coming out of a white woman who wants to protect men that abuse women? Okay, did you know that during this investigation that FBI had sexual misconduct several times? I don't even know how many times, at least 2 or 3 times that I pulled out. And they got sued for raping women, sexually harassing women inside FBI. And they had a hard time coming out talking. And they sued them. And then the stories go under the radar after that because their lawyers and them come to a conclusion, which I did read from one of the lawyers. Yes, they did, and they had a payout. So, just so you know, so you're going to come out here and tell me that government's so on top of this kid thing, man. They're just running out there arresting them all. And then, yet this case that we're looking at is not yesterday. It is decades long. We're talking things starting in at least in the 90s. I don't know. I listened to his ex-girlfriend where there was tons of flags actually of him saying, I don't take women out to eat because they just want a free meal. Okay, well, right there, he's telling you his perception about women. So therefore, you're just kind of an object in his game. And he has a very low opinion about women generally. Okay, that is a flag. But yeah, she's like hindsight, all this stuff. But I wouldn't blame her for Jeffrey. It's almost like she's not a part of like pimping girls to him, is she? I don't know. They didn't directly ask those questions. She's like, I had no idea. He was like this. And then she's like, I'm not going to apologize. I think it's just wrong because these guys are totally guilty. But in her version of the story, it doesn't even sound like she's part of any conduct of that. So I wouldn't expect her to apologize for anything. It's sort of like, he used me and I'm naive and had no idea and I didn't even see none of that. But the way he was talk about women is a flag. His little needy little boy thing is one of the things that I've been talking about forever when I go that little boy choo-choo thing. Okay. That is a sign typically of childhood abuse of some sort. You might see it with Brittany acting like a kid, like that thing. It has something to do with that. Okay. We've seen it in a number of people. I think even LaToya does that. So, it's part of those things. Some worse than others. Which is this other lady I'm thinking of that is like totally beyond anything that any of them have done. But anyway, yeah, so that's usually a sign that somebody had some sort of abuse as a kid. I don't know who did it or who, I was hoping to get it from the ex-girlfriend. It didn't come out. She doesn't know. She's like, you didn't talk that deeply about these things. And I'm like, well, yeah, something serious happened. I don't know what or who or what the heck. Is it because was his parents like overly strict? Did they do any corporal punishment on it? Did what? We need some type of lead into this because we know all the other stories from people where these things are in fact present. Some sort of abuse, maybe just overly controlling, and then some other conduct. So, didn't get it there, but so moving on from that, yeah, so this woman from the Atlantic wants to run her mouth and then praise FBI, which is actually part of the problem in the story too. I have raised flags about every corner of government and the problems with government. Number one, this is a Christian nation that was into children since the very get-go. And we're talking about it now, mostly on that Michael Jackson case. I was like, yeah, there's a lot in it because they just outed another church sect, for doing this for about 50 some odd years. And I just started really getting more into the causation thing. And there's your answer. I mean, it's like literally laid out. And I was like, yeah, okay. So, um, treatment. Treatment's going to be a lifelong thing. It isn't a thing that they turn it on and turn it off. Okay. So the things that Kevin Spacey are doing, he's going to need treatment forever. But you're talking about in their early years, such as in his thing with their child abuse within the family unit. We're saying that a lot of these are actually starting from inside the home first, not even outside, inside the home. And we're seeing some of the worst offenders from the in-home things too. So every time they get a new victim, there's a potential and a high potential of new offenders. And I guess there's a couple of reasons for that. But they normalize the behavior. They think nothing was wrong with it because it happened to them. And then in our story, there's tons of people glorifying it, even right now, even with the Jeffrey story going on. And those people were named in there too. And I'm like, oh, really? You're going to go to that level? Yeah, this is how idiotic these people are. And they never got therapy, and you could tell. And they said, I'm promoting it on someone else's kid. And yes, they do harm their own kids. We're making that clear. I even showed that in that story. And I was like, holy crap. So this is what happens when you don't get therapy and you think you're fine. So when people cover up on you and this conduct, it's sort of a learned behavioral thing, within the church, and they did that stuff. Yeah, you'll understand it. Like, you don't need to go to school for it. You just can kind of sit down and read it and listen to it and understand the complexity of that and how it turns into multiple victims now got tons of mental health issues, right? There's no way to figure out who's going to get what. That's like number one. It's like a crapshoot, right? You don't know if they're going to turn into some ASPD jerk or, an offender. Or you have somebody with severe PTSD and then, they may have drug issues or some other thing, like some of the other cases. Oh, we are seeing psychotic episodes, okay? Which is also from, it's saying that it's more prevalent in people that have multiple offenders, which is about everybody out here, okay? There isn't this one-time story. That just doesn't exist in this world because everybody, like the majority of people have been an offender to doing sexual assaults to rapes, okay? Just a number of things that people have been doing. So you have a myriad of things going on. So no, you would have multiple stories. People are saying that they don't have any stories, are lying to themselves, and they have not gone to therapy yet, and they do these conducts on other people. We have seen that. So the framing, I don't know, the way they're framing it in their brain. When you listen to Harvey Weinstein talk, do you hear him? Yeah, his narcissist brain, it's all shelved weird, right? He is so out there. He's like, I don't see what the hell you guys are talking about. I did this, but it was not this way and it was not that way. And anyway, it's them. And I don't like them for getting me busted. But he doesn't say, on some of these stories, he's not saying it didn't happen. Like, he admits that he did this one thing and he's like, but I wasn't aggressive about it. Like, somehow this should be okay that he's like sexually propositioning his friends. Yeah, I don't know. It's like, hey, ladies, you want to give me a massage? And then another thing that I used to talk about, which totally freaked out Jeffrey, I'm 1,000% certain because I was so on this story. Not just him. I wasn't even big on his story. I was big on going at Lawrence, though, for his go at kid bullshit. And then in the middle of that, and Dawkins, the Richard Dawkins guy, so because he's in the atheist community. But at some point, and I'm thinking it's either because of that story, I looked into who Jeffrey is. It may have been me doing it or it's that somebody brought it up to me because the story's up. I'm just trying to figure it out. It was so long ago, but I distinctly remember pulling up this web page, and then it's like, oh, these girls on this island, on Jeffrey Epstein Island, and I'm like, and it wasn't here in America. It was like somewhere far away where like I can't even do anything about it. Like it's one of those stories. And I don't recall, this is my thing right now. I'm pretty sure I brought it up because I brought up all the stories. I would just go, oh, this bullshit, that. And it would be just like a single tweet, right? Like I would go tweet. I tweeted like a million things all the time. So it was like, oh, this thing, that thing. And, but I don't know if when I was reading it, that it was something that was still occurring. Like I don't recall it being occurring at the time me reading it. I may have thought when I was reading it that it was something that happened prior, or they are current allegations, but there was no proof behind it or something. Not that I didn't believe the story. I absolutely believed the story. But we didn't go further into that for whatever reason. It was lacking anything to go off of. I don't know. Like, I'm sure I brought it up, but there's nothing else with the story. Like, it's not always, I don't recall it saying he's connected to a million other people, you know, the additions that we're getting right now. But I do recall the story. It was out here. I am just being solid on that. And the media didn't do anything. So that did happen, and it would have been about a decade ago or more. So prior to, it was after his first arrest, but it was prior to any QAnon Me Too, okay? I know this for a fact, but I can't recall anything further. What was happening is because nobody else was talking about this stuff, and I was freely talking about it, unlike the media, who was doing all the cover-ups for all these guys. It's really interesting. And then trying to protect FBI. This is interesting. So FBI has major failures. But let me read the definition of this. What is a systemic failure? Okay. Catastrophic. Okay. So what this is, when you just read it in a generic term, refers to the breakdown of an entire system. Okay. An entire system, such as an organization, ecosystem, or infrastructure, rather than just one component, which is absolutely accurate in this stuff. Because in America, human trafficking was legalized, and obviously Christians like to pretend, you know, a lot of stuff about their history. If it is a Christian nation, then you need to take all the responsibility of promoting children getting raped. And you're getting caught right now with all your cover-ups from years and years and years. And those are the only people that were in America. It was like 90% Christian in America at the time that I got sexually assaulted by multiple men. These are just hardcore facts. They want to try to pawn off it's like 10% atheists and the demons. Okay, yeah, no, that's not what happened. So there was tons of child abuse, tons. And it was normalized. So every time we came out to tell people, they would call us liars or a prostitute. The term human trafficking was not even in use at the time that they were human trafficking as kids, right? Human trafficking term was not even used at the time that I reported a human trafficking ring, which is just amazing because I knew it was wrong then. Why aren't you seeing it as wrong? Well, that goes into mental health, and it goes into what had happened to them and what they normalize. It has nothing to do with me. And if you go into therapy, you will understand that completely. I know there's new victims out here speaking out, so I'm trying not to be too harsh on them, okay? I'm just trying to steer them into the right direction because they are saying things that I can tell they still have not worked with this yet, okay? So anybody else out there hearing them, don't agree with it, the blame is on us, okay? They're still working with those issues, and I was there probably around, no, I never blamed anybody. Me personally, I never blamed anybody for those problems, but I was still dealing with my issues, some other issues in even 2010 and 11. So, normalizing, no, it was more like I thought there was something wrong with me because I was so more traumatized from this one action than I was another. And so I thought, oh, maybe there's something seriously wrong with me because, like, I feel like it's not bothering, it didn't do something to me or something. I don't know. It's really weird. So I went in and, no, it's perfectly normal what happened there, but I need to recognize, some things. I was normalizing more things like my dad's monstrous conduct, and they said I was making excuses for him. So basically, I guess what happened was they mentioned something about him, and then I tried to like defend him. And it was something I wasn't even aware that I was doing. And a lot of these women are doing this. So I'm not the only one, and I hear it all the time now because it annoyed me that I got pulled out for that. I was like, I got pulled out for that crap, and I didn't even know I was doing it. And that's how normalized sexual misconduct and abuse from other men on women, and how they defend monstrous people. And apparently, we were guilty in some which way, shape, or form of it. Like, I'm groomed to do this to my dad. I'm supposed to, like, think he's the greatest thing on earth. And then it got worse from there, because then we found out the whole thing was monstrous that my dad did, and it was just a big lie, and he totally effed with my head. And we find this out like much, 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 much later. And so yeah, it took a long time. It wasn't right when I went into therapy. It was like a decade later I find this out. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? So we take it in steps, right? There's always these little things. So it's going to be a lifelong process of deprogramming this garbage. But anyway, but put it in perspective. If I'm normalizing that, there's no way I'm going to be saving anybody else from it, right? Because I think it's fine. Yeah. So that's what happened here. All these people in the public thought it was totally fine. It's not that they never heard it. They knew, and they think it's totally fine. And they did not have an outrage over it. They're faking it right now. There's a lot of people that hate Trump specifically, which I mean, you could hate whoever, but the story is not all about Trump. And Trump has nothing to do with the systemic failures of our system. This is something we were running across, and it was one of the things I kept saying: government's lying on these stats and data, and they keep brushing off our complaints. And so then they don't get added into the statistics, right? And then they had this hokey pokey thing like they do with, like, the lie detector test and stuff. It's like, oh, we could tell who's a real victim and who's not. I'm like, pfft. I was like, are you just waving a magic wand? They're like, I could tell that this one is and this one's not. Usually, the way that you find out that somebody is telling the truth or not is not because if they're a criminal or not. I've talked about that. Criminals get raped in the freaking prison system all the time, right? Does it make them any less or more a victim? I mean, it doesn't. It's just they got raped, right? So they're criminals and they got raped. They could actually be guilty of raping other people, and then they become a victim too, right? So saying garbage like that is hella wrong. But that's Christians. That's them every day of the week, degrading victims all the time and covering up. And so they covered up all the pastors. So when we try to report the pastor, they covered it up. I mean, who's doing it? It's not atheists. I don't know why they continue on with this kind of garbage, because they can't take responsibility for the garbage that they teach. Nambla, again, is from a Pentecostal guy that the church just got outed for all that. I said I was talking about the church forever. They talk sexual stuff to kids that was inappropriate, and then yeah, like that was pretty bad. I said they were like the worst people that I ran into in this stuff, because I had to deal with their families, man. I'm over here trying to deprogram the parents as a kid. I was like, well, those people are good people. I hadn't even met them yet, right? And I'm like, let me show you their videos. Let me show you something. They're totally Christian. Let me just show you this. But their church was saying these Christian people are terrible people. There are some Christians that are terrible people, like really terrible people. But in particular, these people are just, I mean, they're faulty like any other humans, but they're not like these monstrous people that rape some kids and then I don't know what the hell they did. Let's just put it this way. The information that I know about these people, it wasn't like that at all. I mean, when you look at the whole scope of the story, like they were like the least offenders of anything that even ever happened. They didn't do anything. They annoy me. The one guy annoys me because of his perception in the religion. He's a hot mess because of it. But do I think he's this like terrible human that's out here raping everybody and covering it up? Right now, I'm gonna say no. If a story comes out, I can't defend it. But I had never run across that. Um, he just has an arrogance about him that, I mean, insufferable. But beyond that, no. And I was saying the only people in the story was the other guy that is the only one that asked about what the hell are these people doing? The perpetrators. And that was it. I didn't lead him into the story. Now, if I let him into the story and then they covered it up, then I can have something negative to say about him. But I didn't lead him to that point. So we cut the conversation there. So beyond that, no. So, but the people that they were in tie with in the church, when you're talking about the Krause, the pink-haired lady and all them, on TV, yes. So they covered up child sexual abuse as well, and I believe the pastor that he was seeing also covered up sexual misconduct. That's why they sent their wife out to me. That was interesting. But yeah, so there's a lot of that going on. It isn't outside the scope of the church. It's within the teachings of the church. So it was something to look at because that's what they're saying. You have to respect that authority. And that's what happened. So when they went to go tell, then the church covered it up. I mean, if you go by the definition of rape in the Bible, has nothing to do with love. I mean, nothing in the Bible is about love and consent. It's just like, these are the rules and you must do this and that. And then people have to witness your rape and like weird stuff. And then the rest of it is seen as okay, but actually it's a lot of human trafficking, child human trafficking. And a lot of stuff in that. So a lot of bad stuff in that where it's just seen as normal. So like your brain thinks it's normal. So then you have to go to therapy and then they tell you it's all wrong. So, I mean, how could you go back into the book and read it and be like, it's totally cool? You can't, because we came from that end, right? Like we came from the end of, we went through that and then had to go like throw out some of these thoughts. So, yeah, basically that's kind of what's happening. And so then, they reoffend, right? So when it happens to them, they'll reoffend. A lot of them reoffend. They just think it's normal. They think the whole concept of having, human trafficking slaves is like a normal thing. And it's like a God's gift to them. Mormons are way worse, though, I think. Because I think they believe when they die, like, what? This is the story that I got. I don't know if every Mormon believes this. But it was something like, when these men die, they get to have a world populated of like all women if they want. Like this garbage. And I was like, I don't know what crap that is, but I was like some man's sick dream. Yeah, so it was something like that. So I don't know what the females think of that. I guess they think they're going to be part of a harem with some guy. I have absolutely no idea. But that was the one thing was told to me when I was younger. And I was like, that's different. Yeah, our church doesn't think that, but okay. It was like one of those things where you hear it and then you're like, okay, anyways. And then it's like, now I'm going back at it going, what the hell? Like, the whole setup of that. But anyways, yeah, so that's the grooming onto the kids. And you'll see this dynamic in the Guru story. They just did one. I was going to watch the documentary last night, but there's too much stuff going on. It's going to be the same bullshit. Some guy claims he's like some spiritual leader and then the women just submit to him and then he sexually abuses them all. The end. Like the end. It's a narcissist. Okay. Widespread impact. It affects the whole structure, often caused by complex interactions between multiple components. So what would that be in our government? That would be like law enforcement, DOJ, FBI, CIA, local leaders, agencies that are claiming to be for human trafficking. A number of these groups of people, right? So, I mean, I'd say a good example of this ridiculous conduct is me calling FBI and them not taking a full intake down, right? before they lead me off to go at a group of people, right? That's part of a systemic failure, because it had no care about who do I think is behind this? Like, they don't even know. They would know if they pulled up anything that I sent them. I don't even know if they even got it. We could have a person throwing out my paperwork, you guys. We don't even know. But I called to do a follow-up to see, what do I do about this? Are they going to question me? Are they going to send me to another agency? We don't even know, okay? So I have no idea. So I'm just doing what I think I'm supposed to do because I'm getting targeted to hell. And I can't answer anything of who's doing it exactly because there's multiple perpetrators in here. And I'm trying to tell them I'm getting, basically I'm getting extorted. Like, there's this whole setup on me. So I'm trying to tell them this thing and they're like, oh, cops? Oh, you need to go over here. Like that, right away. Cops? Boom, boom. Instead of hearing the story. That's important. So this is a major systemic failure for survivors, okay? And the way they handle these cases, because it was promoted throughout history from Christians here in America. They have their AOCs way too low still. There's a number of problems, okay? It's complex, okay? All the way down to menial jobs of doing basic file work. I was like, basic file work, which that was one of my jobs. You work in the medical field and you have to do filing, you better be 99.9% 999 error free, okay? Because that stuff is very important. I would think at the DOJ you should be close to, on that 100%. You better try not to make any mistakes of your filing systems. Obviously, this is going on, okay? And it did go on in the medical field as well. It was crazy. They just hire people and they don't even care, and they put wrong things in different people's files, which is absolutely crazy. But when you're only paid, like, what was it at the time, $6 an hour? At that job, I think it was $8 when I did it. But anyways, 6 and 8, I think, was at the two different ones that I did that. So, and which was higher than the minimum wage, but they still treated the job like they didn't care. And they're over very important things. But we're seeing that also within government units, in their agencies as well. And it happens big time with law enforcement, which was crazy because we even had it in our cases. And FBI did like some study. I was mad at the study because it wasn't accurate. Like, some of it's true, like miscategorizing bullshit because they don't care about their job. Maybe they got sent to the desk job because they're getting in trouble. Who the hell knows? And then they start being shitty on the phone. And again, this has to do with intake and, calling about crimes. And the person is being such a jerk, right? And then it doesn't get reported. And then they miscategorize the crime itself, on scene. These are things that are going on. This is part of the widespread impact thing. So then the person overseeing it, obviously it's a majority of men in these agencies that are overlooking this thing. And when they have a foul perception of females, we're going to have a less likely good outcome of any justice, to happen with anybody calling in. We are seeing, because we didn't really recognize at a point in time about the male victims, but as we're going through stuff now and more are coming forward, we're seeing the same conduct being done to the males, and a lot by women. And that's really important to look at because women are their mothers and we're getting monsters from their kids, okay? So some bullshit in that. So they're going online and actually trashing these male victims like crazy. And I'm like, well, that's pretty much the same thing. So that's just their general overall view about survivors. And we're just seeing it more prevalent now because more men are coming out. So that was really important to look at. So some people think that maybe more men were victims. I don't know if I'd go to the extent of more men were victims. I would say probably equally as. I mean, because you're looking at the whole system of like, even if you said like 100% of men got sexually abused, well, every woman out here got sexually abused in some which way, shape, or form by the system, by conduct of their parents, and abuses as a kid, or by somebody at school, or some, you know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to gauge who's more of a victim. I would just put it in a category as I think equally that's going on, because if you're getting raped, then therefore those other kids had some incident happen. What those incidents are, we're trying to look at all of it. But so far, it has been sexual misconduct in their earlier thing. So that was important. So I was like, okay, let me see what else. Like, there's so much in this story that it was just like my brain. So I have to take out like 25 years of everything I know from government, these men, everything. And it was overloading me. It's still overloading me because I'm battling idiots, these women online in the media, just making up stuff. I mean, that's the worst part of it, but that's what was going on, is these women were making up stuff saying, we support government. I'm like, well, that's nice. Did you know that government's actually the one not supporting you? I mean, that's what's happening. And then their perception about women is so effed up because of the church. And so when I'm going in, it's like, no, these are Christian. Oh, you could tell. They're like these like crusty, like conservative, like, oh, yeah, I mean, big time. So what is that job? Oh, yeah, this thing. And I was like, yeah, but it's a human trafficking ring. Okay. But these men right here, I was like, these men right here. And yes, and I speak fine. I don't know what this garbage is. And don't say bless you when you're the one that suppresses her. Okay. Ladies, they're doing it to be passive aggressive and try to pound their church shit out, but they're being caught for systemic sexual child abuse from forever. They just want to take the heat off them. We're not letting that happen today. Because there's nobody else here blocking that stuff other than you guys. So as we're trying to go at this, it's like these failures are there and they need to be fixed, because otherwise we're going to continue to have this problem. Okay. To deny that there's a problem is just doing the inner spin doctor work for the FBI and these male supremacist agencies, which they were originally a white male supremacist agency meant to uphold human trafficking and slavery. I mean, that's just the truth of the story. And basically what's happening is, as it's modernizing, as we're like getting more educated and seeing the impact of all the abuses, we've been slowly trying to chip at it to fix it, right? And what was happening is, when I was outing these problems, government sees me as an enemy and not as a survivor. And they started doing retaliations, and the Christian church is the one that backs the retaliation. So therefore, when Jeffrey is doing all these things and the victims are coming forward, the church is in the background as well, promoting the targets of those survivors. And so we were trying to combat that. And unfortunately, all the people that were up at Jeffrey's house were out here sitting there demonizing the survivors and then calling everybody woke and then saying they're going to kill the woke virus. I'm like, wow, that's a pretty strong statement, considering the people you're calling woke are survivors. And you're saying you're going to kill the woke virus. That's a pretty dark statement there, Eline. So that's what they were saying. And that's what they're talking about. And I said, well, the number one flag to know who's guilty is the one screaming out woke. Not people of color, but I'm just saying, generally speaking, anybody's like, these people are so woke and blah, 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 blah. But what they're saying is they're mad that women are coming out and other men are coming out and saying that they did these conducts, right? So that is very problematic. And these people are inside our government. And what do you think is going to happen when you go report a crime? I mean, it's pretty elementary. They're going to F up the report. So that is going on. That for sure is going on. So their mentality on sex crimes is back in the Stone Ages. So we need 10 million people watching me get raped, and therefore if 10 million people watch me get raped, they would be also guilty of the rape itself, right? And that's just not happening in real life. More times than not, it's not happening in real life like that. So there's no way possible that you could tell if somebody's telling the truth or not by telling you a story. Unless, like, there's some really crazy stuff in it, like we saw aliens and some other crap. Well, I would question, like, why they're seeing crap. But anyway, some of these abuses are causing psychosis. Other people may have other mental health issues and they believe something happened. It didn't happen, okay? But you still have to investigate it. So they still need to take the intake, no matter how crazy or lunatic, it sounds. Because, again, one of my stories sounds crazy with the little guy. But the other story of Nygaard is well beyond anything I would ever think is real. And it's real. So there's no way for me to know until I investigate it, right? So you cannot just tell from the story itself. It could sound batshit about everything, right? But you have to go through it. I did even with Corey Feldman's thing, okay? I did, even regardless of what your preconceived things, I did justice to that case, looking at it. Because even though he's saying this, I'm like looking at something. And I was trying to legit go down on this other stuff. And they're over there trying to target me and silence. It was so crazy. I go, that is just insane. We're actually trying to help you out there. But we're also calling you out on your conduct. That's what he don't like. It's that. And I go, well, you have to be called out on your conduct too, because in more cases than not, people have also offended on other people, and he normalizes all this other stuff, and he's doing it to other people. And that's what we're seeing. That's exactly what we're seeing. It's just a back forth. And then he's running with this Jesus crap. And I go, that's funny because they're all getting busted. I wouldn't want to do that. I was like, it's just kind of like solidifying. It's like, oh, you're a cover-up queen. Just like that. Yeah, no, it's really bad. So we've been trying to change those state laws that were made by the Christians, and then they want to keep it low. Why do they want to keep it low and then come out here acting like they're for kids? I mean, it's just the thing about it is it's not them fighting to change those laws. It's them fighting us from changing the laws. They're men. So the men groom them. So the men groom the kids, and then they make it seem like that's totally fine. And I was like, it isn't. So it's them. I don't know. Why are you calling everybody else, doing this? Anyways, that's just the truth of it. And so in government, it's the same people, okay? When you have a majority of like 90% of the public, they may not identify with a Christian today. What matters is what happened to them in their childhood right there, and they were raised Christian. In that 10-year span there that we're looking at, that's the portion that matters, because if they got sexually abused as a kid and they have these really hardwired thinking about the world, this is where they're at. Regardless if it was like, 50 years ago, that's their hard wiring. So when you're talking to them, this is what they know, and they're going off of that. Even if they go and they're now claiming they're atheists, that's what they know. They know the system, the Christian system, basically, in America, when we're speaking specifically here. So that's what they know. And then, so they believe that women need to submit to men and listen to them, and that we shouldn't be in a job place, and they should get all the money, and then calling us greedy hoes and all this, when they're the ones doing it, right? When you see this thing. But what they're ignoring in the story is these men are submitting to other men and getting money. How is that different than the garbage that they're trying to say on women? See, so when you disregard that dynamic right there, you just disregarded all these males getting sexually abused as well. It was this portion that I was like, yeah, for some reason we just totally brushed it off, I guess because they're men, and then they fall in love with another man thing, Jesus, and so we should just ignore all that. There's this like strange little dynamic going on over here. Then the fathers were getting the sons raped, right, at a very young age. And then other boys were promoting for adults to be on young boys. Yeah, so I mean, similar stuff is going on. And then they'll become an offender, right? Mostly if they think it's normal. So we're seeing tons of that. And then they sexually abuse their friends. So they ignore the friend thing. And I've chronically talked about this thing in junior high. Okay, so then they will sexually abuse their other buddies. And then just call it frat housing. And then just call it frat housing. There's so much in it. So when you go tell government that stuff, they look at it and go, what? We all do that. Like, it's not a big deal. It's not registering that this is like extra serious. And so then they didn't stop it, right? They didn't stop kids sexually abusing other kids. I don't know what crap this is. It's just, it's also racist. It's very racist what they're saying, because it's like, did government stop Nygaard like right away when they found out about some kid? No. Who are the victims in that? Women of color, mostly. Women of color, mostly. And this is one of Jeffrey's pals. And I was like, yeah, apparently it's okay to them. It's okay to them overall. Like, it isn't a thing where they're like, oh, we're totally outraged that these white guys are raping some white women. It's just even worse on these because they won't even bring it up. Like, it's like they brought it up for a hot minute, right? The story. But it's so out there because I did this extensive thing on that story. And then one day it just falls off a cliff. Like, you don't see it anymore, right? It's like the dude still hasn't been brought over here to get busted for his garbage, and they're still trying to get this other guy that's part of YouTube. And YouTube just lets them stay on their platform, right? I'm like, well, every day that you do that, I'm just saying, there's a lot of open doors here for more victims to be created in this story. There's a lot of things going on. Like, there's a lot of things going on. But, yeah, no, FBI is no, they're part of the widespread impact and, okay, rooted in structure. Okay, often stems from flawed design. What is the flawed design in America? Anybody guess? Like, anybody guess? Human trafficking. Human trafficking. Slavery. There's actually a term for it. What was it? Chattel slavery? Is that what it was? Somebody tried to pull this thing to me the other day, yesterday, going, us Irish are slaves and blah, 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 blah. And I go, what the hell is that? And it's actually a right-wing talking point. It's really weird. I had to look into this because I was like, I never heard anybody fling that crap out at me. Yeah, they're trying to put them in the same category as people of color. But okay, regardless, it's not to minimize like what happened to the Irish, okay? Because apparently the Irish Catholic were kind of slavored out. I don't know, some portion in history here, but they were trying to put it in the same category as people of color as being non-human workhorses, like this whole thing, right? But yes, there's similarities in the sense of when you're talking human trafficking itself, like everybody got human trafficked, right? Like these are the correlations to those things. But the way you view Irish today, are you sitting there, judging them by their skin color? You know what I mean? It's just there's a lot to it. There is a difference, and there was these terminology differences in that thing. But yes, it's all human trafficking. I mean, you could agree on that, right? So with women, which they like to ignore completely, we just don't even exist. I mean, at least they say people of color. I mean, with us, they don't even bring us up. Like, this is how bad it is. So in order to get to the point of that, you need this problem first, technically speaking. So, the sex slavery of women and human trafficking of women was like probably the very first thing that happened ever. And as somebody just did a write-up on this too, and they're like, we think that is the main thing about this whole thing. And I said, yes, that's the root. I go, you have to go at the root. It isn't actually their racism on people of color. In order to get to that point, you need this massive narcissism where you think you're just above somebody else. Oh, who do they think they're above? Oh, women. Oh, I'm sorry. What was that? Oh, they don't even mention us, right? They keep going LGBTQ, but I'm like, you wouldn't have a problem with LGBTQ if you liked women. It just wouldn't be there. It wouldn't be this issue, right? All these issues. It's a complex thing to understand, I guess, but if it's not that hard to really grasp. in this whole thing. And this is what they're all doing, right? It doesn't even matter skin color. They've all been human trafficking women. They all been raping women. They talk down to women. This is everywhere across the globe, okay? So this is the one thing where like all these groups of people who are claiming, not just claiming, but who were victims in history have this problem, even amongst within those groups of people, any group of people. And it was like, yeah, we see it, and they just don't want to even mention it because they think it's totally, I mean, this is how normalized it is to human traffic little girls. It's just this thing about it. And I was like, yeah, it was ongoing. And then why do you think we have marriages? What do you think that is? That's actually part of human trafficking history. So there's a lot of fake crusaders out here, but to really get into that area and understand, you're erased in the man's name and you're known by being his property. Like they'll say it like that. There's been some changes in that, how people, try to mess around with that, but at the end of the day, it's all part of that history. And a lot of people just don't know the history. They don't even know who made the laws to be with children. It's like Christians, you guys. They want us to believe that atheists and Satanists went and made the pro-human trafficking laws on kids. I was like, that would be near impossible with a, 10% difference of 90% of the public. It just doesn't happen. It's near impossible to get them off of minority groups. They continually go after the Jews. You know what I mean? They're like a very, very small portion of America, actually. A very small portion. And they like to blame them for all the hell of the universe, even though I can't speak for what happens in their country, okay? I'm not going to say that nobody does anything wrong. Nobody harmed a group of people. This is not where we're at. When we're talking about America itself, like this garbage that is going on, and them trying to shift this blame onto all the minority groups, right? And it's like here, it's like you're in charge. How do you even get to the point to blame another group of people? This is like the head boss or CEO of a company going, you know what? It's not my fault that all my employees and everybody effed up the whole company. It's everybody else's fault. It's not mine. Does that even make sense? Like, the guy needs to get the hell out of there, just like the CEO of YouTube. We have this issue going on with Christians. So they like to play that all of a sudden the Christian is no longer a real Christian. They're Satan. Okay. They do this. They don't take accountability for their garbage. So they fling it on like, that's not a real Christian. I go, no, these are real Christians. There's so many sects of Christianity. Like people have different belief systems within the Christian realm, but these are real Christians. These are people that actually run with the doctrine. Like they really are running with the doctrine. They have their different takes of the doctrine. But the literal ones that actually live it are the worst monsters ever, because if you did, it's not a good, healthy society. And it wasn't, and then it ends up becoming a bloodbath later, as you'll see throughout history. It's really bad, actually, really bad when you're talking mental health issues. And then it becomes really brutal, and for some reason they think that's from them not being part of the religion anymore, but that's not true at all. It's from the abuses of that whole bullshit. Amongst different groups of people, because back then it was like a number of religious thought, but they were very similar in nature with what they call the patriarchy, but very different in theatrics there. But the same way they view our gender. But they didn't even recognize men getting raped then. I was like, it just can't happen. What they used to say was, you can never rape a guy. This is what they told little girls all the time. And so you may hear these women, they're going to keep running with it. And no, one day as I was going through this, it was a little pre-Me Too, but it was somewhere in this portion where I was like, yeah, like I don't even know what the numbers are, because these guys keep saying they're not victims. So I have no way to even like gauge like what the hell's going on here, And then And again, that would be due to my own grooming, right? Because I should be able to pick this up as I'm seeing it, because it is like literally in your face. But I don't, I see it as normal, right? I see it all as normal. And I'm just like, well, they're saying this, all this. But then finally one day I realize, I go, no, actually they are victims and they're justifying it. Because nobody's telling them they're not. Like, you're not fighting them. Like, you're like, you're a damn victim, like how we're doing now. But nobody's getting them help. Nobody's saying it's that. I'd say the majority are not saying that. You might get a few people that were saying that back then. It was actually weird going back in 2011, 28. Wait, it was 2008 and 11, in between this portion right there, where I thought nobody was on the side of victims or any of this stuff. But when I go back into it, I was like, oh, there actually was a few guys chirping off at these people. There was. You just didn't hear them as much because there wasn't that many. But they're like, how dare these people even say that? Is like, I was a victim, blah, 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 blah. And this whole thing happened when he was a kid. And I was like, I don't know. I didn't even see them, because the room is like 90 some odd % of people promoting it. So if there's just one person in there talking, I don't know it's a male or female. But yeah, so I started looking back at it. I go, that's weird. There were groups of people talking, but it was not the majority. It was a very small portion of society. I mean that our government would operate in the same manner. They wouldn't be all different and totally against it, which they were not. So anybody saying that, you need to just toss them aside. They don't know anything. They're trying to do the work of the evil government. I don't know. I don't know why you would say FBI was perfect and they would go after it right away. It's just a fundamental lie. And I just want to make sure that these victims understand how bad this issue is, and it wasn't just on them, and that it happened to us, and we are continually muted down. And the media has been playing a major role in the perceptions of child victims out here. It was in everything from titles. They're still calling us minor women. And they're doing it to boys too, and we should pay attention to that too, because us women are very focused on some of these things. But they are doing it to boys too, going, young men. I was like, oh, should we be okay with that too? Because they're doing it to females. Like, that thing's a little weird too. Right? So they're doing that, up-aging the boys. Quite a number of things. It's in things that you're so used to saying that you think it's normal because you've been saying it since a kid. You just don't think twice about it. You go, it's just normal. This is what we've always said. Right? That's a thing. So when you go to therapy, they will correct your ass. Like, they're going to correct your ass. So, okay, failure to adapt. Complex systems often fail because they operate near the edge of failure. That's our government. Struggling to handle unexpected interactions or shocks. Okay. Jeffrey Epstein's case is the biggest shock in America, right? If you look at the case, it's basically all the cases that we pulled out combined. It's so weird. It's so overloaded in my brain that I'm like, my brain's exploding, because I've already talked about everybody in the story, like almost everybody, except for some of these, like, big government people in other countries. But I have talked about some of those people. But basically what you're seeing is, as people were outing people, and I was helping out people because they outed them somewhere else, and then I just bring it up to the attention of the public. These are all those people. And it's like, what they did was just dump all the predators all at once onto the lap of the government. I was like, wait a minute. We had already, like, we were trying to bust all these people are trying to bust these people, but it's all separate, right? Like, each person, there's a Harvey, there's this guy, there's that guy, there's this guy. Trump had tons of allegations over there. I made allegations on a couple of people here, and then, like, everybody in public. And so we're trying to go at each of these individuals. But with Jeffrey, when you pull him up, it's like all of a sudden it was just like, boom, like every single person under the sun. The system was not created to even go after all these sexual perpetrators. It was meant to protect them because a human trafficking was part of the culture. So it's just it's a systemic failure, and it is in how they do the intake, how they take the calls, how these agencies are handling these reports. So you have all the people that normalize sexual abuse that are working in our government. And I had run across it a million times over, them degrading me. It happened at FBI as well. On the last few that call thing on that day, where they were saying these very stereotypical garbage things to me, at least this one guy. And there was a number of people I was talking to, like for about 2 seconds, like for 2 seconds until they slammed the phone. But on the initial thing, the lady failed because she did not get the full story. It was, I mean, can we say it's a purposeful act? I don't know. It needs to be looked at. So the problem with her was she didn't get the entire story. She just kind of cut it off and then sent me off. If she got the full intake of the story and listened to me out, she should have geared me in a different direction, I would believe. At no time should I, the survivor, be going after cops. I mean, it's just the most insane thing really in the story, even though they are part of the story. They were ultra dangerous and they had gangs. And so we were kind of aware of that, but they're doing it for another reason, right? So they did not get that intake. And then I called back again, and then on a later date, and they tried to send me to cybersecurity. So here's the problem with that. It doesn't even make any sense. So we believe over here that these cyber things are happening because of these pedo guys, okay? So, but it could be also related to the cops, right? It could be related to anything, but it's related to a couple of these things going on. They told me to go to cybersecurity, but the problem is when I go to cybersecurity, they're going to be like what's happening and who's that happening and why do you think it's happening? Like the story's going to come up, right? Like who to look at. Like, is there a specific reason why somebody might be doing that? So what if I go, oh, these pedophiles? Okay, great. Where's that story on the intake, right? Like having the story laid out, like what happened, what is going on in your life. And then you go into this thing and then all of a sudden there's all these hacks and these targets from other countries on me. So then when you have the full intake, then they could look at it and go, okay, we should have cybersecurity look at this particular thing. It could be related to these people. Like this thing about it, like you need the story all at once. And then you go from there from what needs to be done in the story. Not me randomly calling cybersecurity and going, the pedos are after me. It's like, what the hell is that? Or if I go, oh, the cops, right? It's like, why are they doing that, girl? Right? It's going to turn into this other weird thing. And now it's in a puzzle piece where nobody has the initial story. And we're just at a cybersecurity thing. And there's no thing on record that these guys are pedos and rape me. You know what I mean? Any other thing like that. And they extorted me, whatever. And it's not on record in the same place. It just doesn't make sense. It's just in pieces, like all over government. It's just not set up, you guys. It's not set up properly. That's what I was saying. I go, how dare government send me off to do this crap? And then I tell the state, I go, you need to understand that I tried to do what you guys said, but they're like, you have to do this. I go, but I'm telling you what's happening while I'm doing it. That's nice. That's nice. Anyway, let me talk over you. And it's like, that's nice, but let me talk over you. This is how it is inside government, guys. This is just the truth of it. When you're dealing with very serious crimes here, and it's like, hi, they're gang members. Did you miss the media? They finally came out with it, and I was already going at it before that even happened. And what did they do, right? And then, so then they're like, you need to go at them again. I'm like, are you insane? So, you know what I mean? Government's telling this to me. Like, this is the messaging. And this is away from FBI now. Now this is with the state attorney's office. And it's like, okay, does anybody know that I got raped as shit? And all these guys are covering it up and targeting the shit out of me. This is the real story. Then they try to pawn me off to, like, some other agency that the state attorney's office made. and turn around and say, sorry, victim, we have nothing for you. I mean, what shit is this? This is the complex systems are failing. It is a systematic failure. That's the proper term for this whole entire thing. It's like all over the place. It wasn't, just FBI. I mean, we could, trash FBI all day with their garbage. But it was like DOJ too. I called DOJ again to follow up on shit they don't follow up on. And they're just like, hey, you need to tell us like why you think they're doing this to you. It's like, oh my God, I have no idea. Like it's like a victim blame question, and it's like an investigation. Which story do you want to hear first? I cannot summarize these stories. They are not. You cannot do it like that. There's too many. And so as I'm trying to explain something, she just flings me to some agent asshole, and he's like, we don't deal with murder. And again, I did not say there's murder in our story. It is insane. So then nothing gets on record, right? So then I go to these outside agencies that deal with this stuff. Then they say government is blocking us from taking this report because they give us money, and the definition for human trafficking, quote unquote, is not that. I go, what the hell they have? What the hell do they have it as? You guys do not understand. It's a systemic failure. And number one, they do not want this stuff on record. They honestly are trying to cover up for these men. So that's an addition. So in addition, they don't want it on the legal records because then their names get outed as, they got a report that they did something. Well, these guys are like big time making sure it's on no freaking public records or private records or any criminal record. And they didn't only just do it with celebrities. They did it with people from my hometown who are unknown to anybody out here. And I was just like, what is this bullshit? So you need to put the names down that I tell you in that report. And I'm literally just battling these people like at the DA's office, at the FBI, at the DOJ, you name it. I had to call all these people. And to hear this dumb woman from the Atlantic going on like this is just infuriating. She's lying to our gender. It's just that. You just sit on your ass and write stories for the public. You don't know shit. And this unfairness with people who are not white women, it's insane. I go, how come you don't care about the other stories? Why is this story more important to you? Because the men that are in the other story are in this story too. If you cared enough about those stories, we would have had these guys knocked down 25 years ago. Let's put it that way. At least 25 years ago, as I was flinging this out there, I go, these guys said they're pedos and they're all that way and we should be fine with it. This is what we said, right? And it was literally in the public. If you cared enough 25 years ago, if not longer, before even me, I don't know who the hell came out here, screaming bloody hell about it. I didn't see anybody. But this is online. You take that seriously and you go investigate it. They did not do that. What they did was promote target conduct on me from those rich men. At no time did anybody get arrested for sending me violent threats, tearing up my vehicles, making me without a plate, doing crap, okay? So many horrible crimes, leaving me in a fire. Every synagogue has a security guard. Can you explain to me where the security guard is that is missing? There's a reason why they have a security guard, because Christians are lunatics. This particular night, this Jewish synagogue security guy is gone. And on this night is the night that this fire happens and the cop leaves me in the fire that's next to me. And nobody questions this. And mind you, this is a Jewish synagogue. So why isn't government targeting it? They're sitting there going, oh, we got to protect the Jews. I'm like, good. So then you should investigate this. It's just crazy, right? So I was just like, yeah, I don't know, man. There's so much in it. They're just trying to off me up in the story because they just don't want it on record. I mean, it's really that. They don't want it on record. They don't want to have to go, like, if it's on record, then it's like, oh, you have to investigate it. So, like, everything they're doing is to throw it off record. This is what they were doing for the last 25 years, guys. This is the truth of the story, and we're not even outing Jeffrey, but Jeffrey thinks, I'm almost certain he thinks I was outing him. Because if you followed my story, I'm heavily targeting Lawrence Krauss. Then I'm saying these men own everything. They have so much money, and these guys, I was saying generically, these men own everything you don't understand, which is true. And then I said, oh, and their number one predator move is massages. I was like, you have to think that I'm thinking that I'm talking about him. Then I said Thailand. Like, there's a lot of things in it. It's because I know all these stories and it includes these same factors, okay? But it is a direct thing to them. So during the time that these targets really heavily started happening was when all the men from Me Too that I was going on about went to Jeffrey and said, please help me. Boom. These targets went boom, 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 and Trump just went into office. You're going to tell me that he don't have nothing to do with that garbage. He definitely has something to do with that garbage. To what extent? What can we say? And everybody knows. They used to say that they thought I was his daughter. At what point do you think I'm his daughter? He's targeting his daughter? Yeah, they were saying evil stuff like that in 2014 about that. So I was like, not on this planet. But I didn't know none of this, and thankfully I didn't. And the only connection is the people that we're dealing with. They have the connection to him. That's 1000%. And that person now is kissing their ass. Why do you think he's kissing their ass? He needs protection. He needs protection. He has fear that they're going to get busted eventually. That's why they started screaming woke, because, oh my God, if the laws change, it's a threat, right? Government was helping that out. Everybody. It's a systemic failure. So we, as survivors, need to fix this system right here. It is all over the place. It is asinine. We had nobody overseeing the conduct inside these agencies, which includes sexual assault and harassment inside the agencies that we're dealing with. It was really bad. But I laid it out as I was going. I was being transparent. I said, government needs to be transparent. I'm being transparent. Somebody has to do it. So I might as well. Let me tell you what's happening. Boom, boom, boom. Well, government's like, oh my God, she's a security threat. I don't know why. I don't work with government. So whoever stole the account, that's just retaliation. I mean, they need to get my shit back. But no, it's not me breaking any laws. I didn't get any classified records, or, you know what I mean? It wasn't anything like that. It's them bullying me as a survivor to those men. That's them. It's just them. And then me saying that the conduct in their office was terrible. That's it, you guys. It is that stupid. And they are not on our side, but they're pretending to be right now, which is the annoyance of this whole thing. But to have some woman come up in the media there and make up some crap to, like, solidify their lies is just... I was like, thankfully it's not a Survivor. I thought I was watching a Survivor. When I flipped it on, I thought it was a Survivor going to be talking about their experience with Jeffrey, because some of the survivors in it just are not saying the story. Like, they're just dealing with their garbage right now. They're like newbie coming out people. So you could tell that a number of them, it wasn't the ones that were talking on this group thing with Virginia's brother. Like, those people were great so far, at least from what I heard on that. It's some of these other ones that are having issues on how to view it. And we cannot enable anything where women are saying it should be on us to like beware of these guys and run away. Like some bullshit like that. It's like we're not gonna go reverse in society here. The focus needs to be on these men and women that are assisting to these men. And nobody saw, I mean, the fact that someone's exploiting a victim on a conspiracy channel is pissing me off, because they have mental health issues and it's related more than likely to this garbage, is upsetting. But men just, you know what I mean? Them and their damn problems. There's a bunch of things going on right now. And there's like thousands of victims. I mean, when you look at the case itself, it's like, okay, there's probably like maybe 2,000 to 3,000 victims in Jeffrey's universe, right? Just him alone. I think there's like 1,000 now that they have on record, but guess who's not on record? Okay, so you got that. Well, each of these individual men have probably about the same thing, like 1,000 here, hundreds here. You know what I mean? It's like going in this thing. Harvey has tons over there, and that other camp has tons from the 70s onward. You know what I mean? So you're looking at it as a whole, and there's like thousands of victims. Thousands. In this single story. Because if you bring in Nygaard's people, again, systemic failure, you guys. And even that story identifies a systemic failure a bit because the billionaire even said, they're like, I kept trying to get him busted. The FBI won't do shit. There's like corruption in Homeland. There's like blah, blah, blah. And I go, yeah, all that. Yeah, all that. So they couldn't even go after them, even though he was on kids. For like a long time, he was operating. He's a 70, 80-year-old guy now, you guys. This has been going on since the times that they're outing for the churches covering up sex abuse. Your government is mostly Christian. Damn! It's so much. It's like laid out. It's laid out. It's years of research. It's years of being a survivor and trying to go at it. Not some stupid white woman at the Atlantic. What is that? The Atlantic? The Atlantic. That covers up these stories. They just were not there, you guys. These women were fighting us. This is the truth. These white women were fighting us so bad. And then threw us these horrible monsters in our government and said we should just look away from it and we think like he's a better guy. It's like, no, Biden's not a better guy. None of these people are. Every single president in this portion of time for the last 50-year span has sexual allegations, and Bush Sr. touched kids. So you have this whole thing going on through this whole portion of time. Where are they going at kids? Like where you see FBI just busting down the house because they're raping some kids. I mean, this is just not happening. You guys are singing songs about raping kids. It was so disgusting. I was like, yeah, this group right here is like out and proud. I go, wait, where was Homeland? I'm calling him out. And you guys were saying that it's fine because you like their music. And so therefore we should ignore that they rape kids and that we should listen to their music. And I was like, this is horrifying. That's what you did. Don't deny it. Don't deny it, people. On the MJ case, it was in the public too, where we didn't see FBI go after MJ for the Lisa Marie thing. That story is so bad. I didn't even know Lisa Marie got sexually abused prior to the story either. So she's really susceptible to getting abused again because obviously she didn't get any like real therapy at the time. And she was struggling pretty hard with, I don't know, I guess interfamily dynamics, child sexual abuse maybe. And then this guy preying on her, right? Michael Jackson. She hadn't seen him since she was a kid. Michael admitted on air, on TV, that he tried to use his lawyer to stalk her down. But at a later date, when her mother and her were speaking, it was very clear that they said that he called her when she was a kid and tried to prey on her as a kid. And at no time does this get brought up on the any of the things on Michael at all, going after kids. She's a female, so there were female victims. Apparently, it's just normal for men to do this. So, see, it gets brushed off, right? The kid thing. And then also that they use a lawyer. And I'm trying to figure out the conduct of the lawyer because these lawyers out here were assisting and being part of the conduct. And what about that? They said that anytime FBI even gets wind that they are doing things with kids, they go after it. At no time did they go after it for the Lisa thing. None. And the fact that they just let parents like human traffic their kids to this dude, just generally, the whole thing on it is outrageous. And two, knowing that he had a drug problem, they allowed kids to be in the presence of a parent on drugs. That is the biggest no-no for CPS. We have kids taken away all the time from parents that do drugs and they cannot take care of their kids properly. So what the hell? Why was this a pass off? Just because he's a celebrity? Then number 3, they ignore that there was a side drug ring over here, which I'm the one speaking on that. And somebody else is trying to say it was all fake, that they got arrested. I love that one. It was fake, they got arrested. Anyway, that they got arrested. And I go, yeah, there's this other thing going on. You know, all these people, like when they talk about people wanting money from them, I go, maybe she is really legitimately owed money because they gave it to her. But I am legitimately owed money as well because they stole it from me. See the difference of that? And I was a kid. But where does FBI in that? I see again, that's a different story. You see, that's another one. And it's a kid crime. They were child human trafficking. That drug ring was child human trafficking. I can't say what what the female did in it at all. I can't tell you that she did that, but the other people did in her ring. Yes. And she got to live in that apartment on the money of the children. Fucking FBI. Fucking FBI with their bullshit. Like, how do you know it's a ring? I don't know, man. I don't know. They put him on the phone. That's not my fault. That is literally not my fault. And I can be pretty monstrous on the phone too. I ain't gonna lie. But I have to be because if you deal with government, all of a sudden you're just gonna be the meanest person on the phone. I mean, that's just the truth. I never talked to people like that on the phone up until I talked to FBI. But you literally put these people on the phone, have no care in the world what the hell you are hiring. Think it's totally fine. If you're going to get some intake and some questions about it, then you should talk to me. You should talk to me about the whole story. Not get smart ass with me and start flinging out some right-wing talking points about how you hate women and you think they're all greedy blackmailers from hell. And, you know, I don't know, whatever. Like, this is the mindset it's coming from because we as women know. It's like a person of color knows when someone's being a racist a-hole. But this is the thing about it. That's what I'm saying. They're talking in a manner that is improper for somebody trying to report a crime. I'm like, who's gonna? You're a liar, honey. You know, you just want to get me. I don't know, some bullshit. They'd be going on like this. I go, that dude needs to get fired, man. I don't know. The women were being just as bad, but they didn't say that comment. One took like a pause and wrote something down and then just went poof. And then, yeah, like they couldn't have these conversations. It's weird. So, no, this shouldn't be going on. Again, systemic failure. Catastrophic systemic failure. Because at a minimum, they should go, what's it about? Okay, so you need to contact, if it's not them, right? If they don't want to take the intake, they need to direct the survivors to where they need to go. If it's Homeland, at no time did they tell me go to Homeland. And nor would you really want to go to Homeland. Like, there's a whole thing to this. Like, that you're going to set yourself up going over there. So, and they were spoken of early on as being a lot of things. So, and I was saying that basically the intake should be done by somebody that's not part of these agencies because they're so bad. And there's like a conflict of interest when it involves government. And like the Atlantic's white woman over there is like literally disregarding that the law enforcement and government were in the story and how they're protected when you try to report on them because they put funds into these agencies and they block you, and then they were a part of human trafficking. And it was heavily in all these stories, and I was like, yeah, we're trying to go at it, man, but that crap right there is a mountain. So they're going to block the reports that are dealing with government being part of the story. Did you read anything in the story where government itself, like the law enforcement, anybody, on these things, of this list of things where they were involved? I mean, if it is in there, then it's through millions of pages and we have not even seen the breakdown of that, but they definitely would be. And it's not there. And it could be that the victims are not aware of that, but they should be. But it could be in this case they're not aware of it, so they're not reporting it because they're ignorant to the fact. It was very prevalent in Nygaard's story, very, very, and also myself. So it was in these stories, tons of them, and I was like, well, this is a problem, so that's going to cause a major blockage, even just reporting that, because it's a different thing. So you have problems with lawyers when the government is also involved in the case versus I'm just going after a private party. It has caused, the system is not made for that, you guys. It is a hot mess. And I'm like, it isn't because somebody's fake or somebody's making up something. It's just that it was laid out because they are into human trafficking and slavery. That was the Christians of America, the Puritans, whatever, this is how they had it laid out. And the system hasn't been challenged to this point. You know what I mean? This is like the overload of like every rapist now that's out here getting busted, right? It's like this thing about it where it's all at once. And that has been their fear. They knew that was going to happen because they're like, we don't want to make all this stuff legal because then it'll overload our system. It's like, oh, okay, so you're admitting that that you raped everybody and everybody's a victim? Is that what you're saying, though, in that comment there? That's not a good comment. Well, okay, so if you have this problem where now it's to the extent of everybody got raped, I do believe then it should be on government to pay out to every single victim here in America, including through the church, since the church is the one that did the cover-ups, right? The whole thing about it, raped them, covered up, got into government, covered up. I'm like, if you guys are going to have an orgy together in our government, then you should pay for it, right? That's what I think, but you need to argue this from the government and make demands. Don't let them degrade you and say you're not worth anything. They love to do that, and I'm not here for it, and we don't take that from anybody, but it's the men telling us we're not worth anything. You need to counter that. You guys need to counter that. And they get very mad and they retaliate when you do, just letting you know, and they get very vindictive and they try to take you down. That conduct needs to get busted, and it shouldn't be happening towards any survivor that is willing to tell government about a criminal. But this is what's happening, and it's just reality versus people's bullshit. And that's just what happened. I mean, that's just the true story. They're literally arguing that no one should get justice because the system will get clogged. Like, they're aware that everybody is a victim. You guys are fine with these types of comments from our government. It's saying, I am with knowledge that everybody's a victim. Therefore, they will clog the system. So therefore, we should fight for injustice. Christians. That's who's saying that. These comments, like how they just like fly over people's heads and they're just like, yeah, it sounds reasonable. The men, the guilty men in it are way down with that comment. I would be if I was a massive criminal. I'd be like, yeah, take down these like woke girls, man. I don't want to go to jail. That's where I'm going to be on that, right? Think about it. Put yourself in the position. Why would you ever hook up with anybody even standing in that position? I mean, that's the truth you're asking for it. Anybody talking like that. I mean, that's how you don't become naive to the crap. It's like, who the hell would argue that? Oh, and something that I said a while back, it was probably 3, 4 years ago. Oh, when I discovered this problem with the on the male portion, when it finally clicked, I said, oh my God, when that avalanche comes out, you guys are going to be blown away. Because it's the people that are looking at it thinking it's all fine. It's not. You see it like right out in your face. And I go, the minute that they finally realize that they were victims of this child sexual abuse as a kid, what's going to happen is it's just going to roll. And it's slowly rolling right now, which is good. You want it to happen because, again, a lot of those men are offenders, and we've been calling it out. Like, they come out and go, oh, I got touched by this dude. But at the same time, they got like 20 girls saying they touched them, right? So you're seeing the dynamic, and it's like, oh no, we need that to happen. It's like the need that to happen. Because if it doesn't happen, then these abuses are going to continue on, and then they're not going to see it for what it is, and then they are going to offend, and then they have mental health issues. Okay, these mental health issues are so bad. That's why, Kevin be driving out drunk and touching everybody and doing all crazy stuff. Okay, these mental health issues are bad. Like, you see Brittany driving drunk. Okay, these mental health issues are bad from this type of childhood stuff. Okay, so you want to cut into that, because we're seeing the school shootings. Okay, they're acting out. Like, there's a lot of acting out in the mental health portion of that thing too, and it needs to happen. We see it. That's what I'm saying. I go, just wait till that comes out. It's going to be an avalanche. We're on the girl thing right now, but the male thing is rolling in. But you have to support them. The women are not supporting them. It's really crazy. They're making up stuff. They're saying they're just trying to take these men down. I go, it's like a yes and a no. Like, you're trying to help them, but you have to get them busted. Like, there's this whole thing to it. You have to do this. So, on the final objective of this whole thing is to stop all the sexual abuses from men and women, because in these stories, they promoted some women to go out some young boys. And we're seeing that too. They've gone after other young females. We're seeing quite a mix of a dynamic of things going on here. And a lot of the females didn't get in trouble for it, because the males that were getting sexually abused by like their parents or the church normalize women being on them. And so these perpetrator females were basically just covered up for. Like, they were pretty much glorified. They're like, who wouldn't want to do that, right? So they were saying these types of things. And so I went into the David case, David Lee Roth, because he was doing the little boy choo-choo crap. I was like, I have to talk about that one. Where it was showing me some questionable things over there. So he's the one that was singing about that. So the story, if you missed it, I guess when he was younger, the parents went on vacation. I think they went on vacation. And then he runs across some adult woman. And then this woman and him together. But he's a minor. But the way he frames the story is of some great conquest, when the truth is he's a victim to this adult woman who is attracted to a young boy. And all these years, everybody just tells him, like, this is great, and he thinks it's the greatest thing. And he's like reverting to like little boys sometimes. If you actually pay attention to him, I'm like, what the hell's going on over there? He has a lot of issues, because I think he had a bad family dynamic. And I think at some point, like, they just didn't connect. And maybe he was, I don't know, just something with the family unit there was not good. And then so he has mental health issues, right? Then he hangs out with all these other rock star dudes who are just as bad. And they're all doing drugs. So he doesn't even have a moment in time to even go to therapy or do any of this crap. And then people are talking crap about him, how whack job he is. And yeah, he's off kilter. But the truth is of the story is that when he was younger, to even get to this point in his odd conduct, he'll even say like way inappropriate sexual things into crowds. It was crazy. I was like listening to him. I'm like, you're not embarrassed, dude? Like, you don't feel uncomfortable. It's a cringy comment. We're not in 1980 when they're promoting raping kids. We're now at a point where people are going to therapy and getting help and all this stuff. Okay, so he's like saying these wacky things, but it does come from that early experience. And I think I'm the only one that said that he was a victim. And I don't know if anybody else ever said it to him, right? So if nobody ever says it to these guys, how are they going to sit there and go into a therapy office, right? You know, or anything like that, or see that, wait, there's something wrong with me, because they never thought. So it is important. It is really, really important that they identify those problems so we don't get harmed anymore, that the future doesn't get raped by these guys anymore. It's not an okay thing. That should have never happened to him either, okay? And he should know that, but he's not told that. It was glorified in his younger years, and then so when they come out, it's going to be a lot. We know it's going to be a lot just because of that behavior right there. So yeah, that's the objective, is to just stop the whole thing. People go get help, not okay it or minimize it in society. It's not about giving the DP to all these people, unless like these crimes are really like, I mean, it has to be at a level here, but this is what they're asking. But it's like, actually the truth in the story is that y'all be part of it. So I don't know why he would ask that when you're the one that did that too. Just a lot in it. There's a lot in it, but yeah, that's the objective, is to get that thing and get people help and make sure we cut that cycle of conduct and get these laws corrected and make sure that where it's way too young, they need to be protected from these individuals, because what does it say? Kids that get sexually abused as kids are high risk of sexually abusing other kids. It's right there. I mean, it's the conduct right there. It's what everybody's going is okay, is okay. It's not okay because they're raping other kids. Like, what the hell? And then they say don't go at it when they're kids. I'm like, well, that's where the perpetrator is at as a kid. That's when it's created, right there. It's like really elementary when you think about it, but it's like, I guess it's just one of those things people just brush off. Like, it's happening some other reason. Some other reason. Some other bullshit. No, it's happening from general everyday conduct.